And this next section of our program this morning addresses a question I often receive, and that is, what are Rotarians doing, or what can Rotarians do? And especially to introduce or to advance diversity, equity, inclusion, to foster belonging, however a club defines it. So I want to get practical, and I've got 6 of local Rotarians. 4 are going to briefly share what their club has done in the current Rotary year to take action around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then 2 other sets of Rotarians are going to report on lessons learned from 2 Rotary linked initiatives, if you will. And we're going to start with Skip Roland from the Rotary Club of Seattle to tell us what Seattle Rotarians have been doing this year. Skip, take it away.
Thank you very much, District Governor Kathy. Okay, first of all, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I am very proud to be a member of Seattle 4. I have personally never felt that I was not appreciated or that my voice was not heard. A friend of mine, Derek Pasternak from another club, once asked me in love, what did it feel like to be a Black Rotarian? I laughed for 20 minutes because I have never felt like a Black Rotarian in Seattle 4. I have no idea what that feels like. Now, what are we doing? All you have to do is go to our website. First of all, we have a commitment to social justice. It's 3 paragraphs long. It also talks about a resolution on racism. It also talks about our resolution on social justice. I'm not going to read these to you. I'm going to invite you to go and look at them and study them for yourself. We have various organizations that deal directly with the subject matter. I will say, first of all, that we have a very diversified weekly program. We also have a collaboration with the United Negro College Fund to support their mentoring program. Linda Thompson Black is the director. We have a Rotary Business Mentoring Program. I've been chair of myself that works with small and minority businesses. Terry Van Nostrand is the chair. We have a Peace Builders Committee that reads books that opens our minds to what's going on in the world around race. David McDonald, Caitlin Grant, co-chairs. Rotary Boys and Girls Club, been around since 1939. Works with kids of all colors on the south end of Seattle, rebuilt it in 1954 in order to have a more serviceable club. And last, I'll talk about the Rotary Initiative Task Force that I and Dr. Suzanne Griffin are co-chairs. We take diversity to the international level and hopefully integrate global initiatives and ideas and bring those ideas to our members. Hopefully I've covered this in 3 minutes. Thank you.
Ooh, I'm breathless, Skip. That was fabulous. Thank you for the overview of what Seattle Rotarians are doing. Let's go across the lake to Bellevue. George Northcroft and Rochelle Bouchon from Bellevue Rotary. Tell us what you've been doing this year.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm having trouble sharing my screen, so we're just going to roll with it.
I can share with you if you want me to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll make that happen.
So I'll keep talking since we only have 3 minutes, but I'll start off with a quote. This was an excerpt from our DEI task force in Bellevue, and this is a quote from Martin Luther King. "Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection." And that's from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in a letter from Birmingham jail. For us, it's still a journey, and it's been a big journey this last 6 months. I'll start with where we started, and that was in June. So June was my last month as club president, and this was right after the protests and riots in Bellevue that happened in response to the killing of George Floyd. So in June, a DEI task force was formed, and then an initial report was created and presented to the board in July. Inside that report, there were 19 actionable objectives proposed to the board. But at that time, the board felt they were ill-equipped to even make a decision. So the first step we did in Bellevue was actually doing training and education for the board members so we could even make a decision of how are we going to make a statement, how are we going to go forward. A statement was accepted by the board, but we never posted it to the website. So going forward, in November, we had training for the board. And December 9th, we actually accepted a board resolution about race, and we can share that information later. And then more importantly, now we have a working DEI committee, and that's what George is going to talk about.
Yes, I am delighted with the fact that I was selected to co-chair the DEI committee with John Steach. We have 30 members on this committee that represents about 18% of the total membership of the club. So, and we've broken out into 4 work groups. One is a planning and now the slides are up, is a planning and evaluation work group. And their work is to determine the near and mid-range long-term objectives of the DEI committee and to evaluate the progress reports. We have a policy work group that is researching and analyzing and giving recommended actions to the regarding policies, processes, and practices internally. And we have an onboarding informational work group who is engaging in the study and the discussion about DER. And we have a marketing community communications outreach, which is engaged in a broader BERC membership with external stakeholders. The priorities are increase awareness of systemic racism. So we do that by having regular speakers, and we incorporate it in our invocation. We are looking at ways to reduce systemic racism by increasing BIPOC voice and decision-making power in our club, and finding ways to reduce ways our BRC enables systemic racism. By engagement, we are creating opportunities for our club members to improve their personal, interpersonal, and organizational equity practices, and we're applying the 4-way test. These slides will be available to you. At the end of the slide, we provided the board resolution that was passed, and the 19 measurable outcomes are at the end of this slide presentation. I'm not going to read all those to you, but this will be available to you, and also the journey that Rochelle went through earlier in the meeting. And so we're finished. On to the next report.
Thank you so much, Rochelle and George, for sharing what Bellevue Rotary has done. And I know that was kind of an express report, but we'll have some sessions coming up right after this where people can dig in a little deeper and explore more. But thank you for giving us the overview. I'd like to turn now to Tony Ives from the University District Rotary Club, another club that stepped up early on in the DEI efforts. Tony, tell us what the University District Club has been doing.
Hey, thanks, Kathy. We try to mirror what other clubs are doing through our committees, including the Peace Builders, the Social Ad Hoc Committee, our own DEI committee, and others. But I'm just going to focus on 3 initiatives that we're really trying to drive home, basically sponsorship, scholarship, and mentorship. So our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force has taken the first steps towards the promotion of minority businesses in the greater University District area. Of course, this is not going to stay in the University District because we're in collaboration with other clubs around King County. So the brief statement is intended to be an introduction to the rationale behind the DEI's task force action plan to promote the businesses. So the statement basically reads, the DEI task force of the U District Rotary Club has developed an action plan to promote minority-owned businesses in the greater University District. We'll identify minority-owned service businesses and then meet with those business owners once or twice per month. We'll take steps to promote the businesses. So right now we've invited business owners or surrogates to speak for about 10 minutes at the club's meetings, or luncheon meetings every Friday. We include a profile of the owner or business in our weekly club bulletin. We encourage our members on an ongoing basis to actively do business and promote these businesses. So specific businesses include Cedars, which is a Cedars restaurant. It's an Indian and Pakistani owned business, really great. June Baby Restaurant, African-American business, also incredible. If you haven't tried it, you should check it out. And it's not just restaurants. Our current business that we're promoting is African American as well. It's a peaceful training, which is fitness and training. So the next initiative I'd like to focus on is the scholarship initiative. The scholarship program seems to change every year, and we're trying to develop a focus and a DEI statement at this committee level. So we've partnered with organizations and schools to coordinate our scholarship activities with theirs. For example, Garfield High School and Roosevelt High School, we know the Seattle school public system has a system to bring schools and students together for a promotion of scholarships. And we have partnered with these schools and the Seattle Public School System to be included in that scholarship notification and application process. We're also leveraging our scholarships for multi-year support. So maybe the first year, students have a hard time with receiving a scholarship, but it's the second year they don't have a way. In the past, we've only supported students in the first year, but we're proposing to do that on a second year basis as well. We also are trying to find kids that fall through the cracks, not necessarily focus on a full 4.0 grade point average, but other kids that don't have the opportunity or for some reason they fall through the cracks. And as far as our DEI initiative, and one thing, we're trying to make this a long-lasting event to bring these young scholars into our clubs. So that includes maintaining a database of our past scholarship recipients. I'm going to give you a really good example. There was somebody, she's a leader in the Seattle Chief Seattle Club, and she received a scholarship from Burien. I had no idea until we reached out to talk to her, and she said, "Hey, Tony, yeah, I received a scholarship from the Rotary Burien Club, and it really helped my career." And so if we can have that type of representation, then maybe we get more diverse applicants, and that's what we're going for. The final thing I would just want to mention really quickly is mentorship. So we're trying to mentor new scholars by partnering them with Rotary businesses, and in collaboration with clubs like the Rotary number 4. We're trying to do all of this together. Everybody's got great ideas, and we can't do it alone. So if we can leverage the relationship that we have with each and every one of you guys, that's the most important part, and that's what we're trying to do. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Tony, and thank you, University District Rotary, for all you're doing. I'd like to invite David Della, immediate past president from the International District Rotary, to talk about their DEI effort. David.
Okay, thank you very much, Kathy, and thank you all for being here today. In Seattle International District Rotary, we formed an ad hoc committee on DEI in July 2020, and it had a twofold purpose. One, to prepare a statement for club approval on the issue. Then second was to recommend an action plan based upon the statement and oversee its implementation. And I want to recognize Heidi Topo, who is on this call. She's the chair of our DEI committee. And there are about 11 members of our club that sat on this committee. And most of them are chairs of committees. So you could see how we put DEI central to everything that we do in the Seattle International District Rotary Club. All club members were eligible to be part of the committee and to be part of the discussion of developing the statement and the plan. And so it took us 2 months and 8 meetings to develop the first statement and the plan. And we took the time to do that. And we chose, while we supported a district-wide statement, we chose to do our own statements because we wanted to intentionally engage our club in conversation about what this meant to us and what type of statement we think is appropriate for the service area that we're working on. And so we took the time to do that. And out of that, we were glad that we took the time because we came out with some great statements, both a statement after the George Floyd murder, but also we also did a statement about anti-Asian hate, which is much more recent. But we used the same framework and the same type of template to come up with statements on that. And so the plan that we came up with, which is very important for us, is key. We have 3 categories of goals. One is education and learning, which includes, bringing speakers in from the community about their experiences with diversity and inclusion and equity, and to identify, where we might, as a club, want to make a difference in the community. The second is membership and internal, and then third is internal club operations. And so what we could see with the first one, the education and learning, half of our speakers that we brought in last year and this year gave us the opportunities to understand what were some of the issues in our community about that, and what were the opportunities for our club to interact and become part of the work they do. And so from that, we were able to identify projects that we want to work on, including a feeding program for our seniors down there, supporting the businesses that were impacted not only by the pandemic, but also from some of the protests and anti-Asian type of hate in the community. And then second, in terms of the membership, what we did is we did a survey, and we are keeping a census of our members, or demographic information of our members, to see where we're at as a club, but also, more important, how do we target new members to recruit and become part of our club. And then number 3, in terms of our internal operations, we decided, number 1, through our discussions, not to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, because we feel at this point justice is still not fully served. But instead, we focused in on how do we use the 4-way test of Rotary to serve our statement, but also our actions in DEI. And then number 2 is we want to use our plan and our statements as a basis to determine our community and international projects that we're going to pursue. And then the last thing that I want to mention, and we can talk more in the questions and answer in the next session, is it's very important to establish DEI in the center of the work that we do in our club. So what we've done is that we are putting DEI chair on the board as a voting member to make sure that all the work that we're doing in the DEI committee becomes the work of the Rotary Club as a whole. So that's where we're at. We have the structure, the statement, and we have some plans, but we have a long way to go. We've made great progress in doing that, but we still have a long journey to do that. And we feel confident that we have the full backing of our membership, and also the potential to draw new members in our club. That's it.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Tony and George and Rochelle and Skip, for sharing what's happening at your clubs. And there are other efforts in other clubs, and we just didn't have time today, but I wanted all of us to hear some concrete examples of the first efforts in, as David Della said, a journey that we're on that will be a multi-year one. We're going to shift gears now, and we've got 2 more sets of Rotarians we're going to hear from. I'm going to invite Jamal Idris from Bellevue Rotary and David Woodward from Seattle 4 to talk about an interesting initiative that's been underway for several years. And there are some lessons learned from their success that I think can apply to our DEI work. So Jamal and David, welcome. And please tell us what we need to know.
Thank you, Kathy. I'll lead off and then turn it over to Jamal. We began the Seattle Rotary Diplomacy Initiative in 2015 in partnership with the Consular Association of Washington. Our main activity the first several years was to create a streamlined membership option for diplomats and public officials and reach out actively to them to speak to our club and potentially join. A result of this was development of a task force of 50 of our club members and a blue ribbon panel headed by our diplomatic Rotary members from Japan, Korea, Canada, Mexico, Taiwan, and Ethiopia in particular. and the Director of International Relations in the Governor's Office, as well as Dow Constantine, and a representative of the Mayor's Office, Deputy Mayor. We also have held an annual Diplomacy Day for the whole club with major speakers on soft power and global engagement. Under the leadership of Chair Dr. Skip Roland, an expert on ancient African and Middle Eastern civilizations, and co-chair Dr. Suzanne Griffin, an expert on international education and leader in development of women's empowerment in Afghanistan through education, the Diplomacy Initiative now holds a monthly seminar on international and cross-cultural affairs prior to our club's noon meeting. If you're interested in observing one of these seminars, next week on Wednesday at 11 a.m., we will be hearing from Deputy Consul General of Korea, Seung-Yin Hong, speaking about the connections between Korea, the U.S., and Washington. Everyone's welcome to attend that, and we'd love to support your club in doing similar kinds of seminars if you're interested. So please email me for the link, the Zoom link. To summarize what we do, we strive to become a club more open and committed to global and cross-cultural engagement. We celebrate and highlight our members who have diverse backgrounds and abilities, such as knowledge of different languages and experience traveling the world and working with people who are of different backgrounds. We actively reach out to potential members who represent various ethnic, cultural, and national communities and make joining our club as easy as possible. We partner with local associations and organizations to connect to more diverse communities. Overall, our goal is to become a club that helps society move from conflict to constructive engagement. In the years to come, we aspire to see our entire district embrace a process of change that puts our district on the global map as a welcoming center of international and cross-cultural engagement. My colleague Jamal will further elaborate on what a profound opportunity this can be for all our clubs. Jamal?
Thank you for the excellent summary and the great work you do in the Diplomacy Initiative. For those of you who had the opportunity to visit Rotary clubs outside the US, such as the Rotary Club in Shanghai or Tokyo or Istanbul or Dubai, you will notice a significant number of their members are non-permanent resident expats. In our district, we have a notable number of expat communities living amongst us. The expats relocate to our region for many reasons. The most common reasons are they're sent by their employers. It could be foreign governments or international companies. They move for partner career or move for studies, mainly as scholars. As David mentioned, almost 50 countries are represented in our state by career and honorary diplomats who live predominantly in the District 5030 area, promoting trade and economic cooperation with our cities and counties. These expats present a great opportunity for membership in our club, bring rich cultural experience, and help us promote Rotary International mission to refuse conflict as a way of life, foster understanding, and promote world peace through diplomacy. In partnership with Seattle 4, we're working to bring the work of Diplomacy Initiative to the Bellevue Rotary, as well as other clubs in the East Side. We invite all Rotarians in our district to join this initiative. Please feel free to reach out to David or myself or the co-chairs, Dr. Rowland and Dr. Griffin, to engage in the Diplomacy Initiative. Kathy, back to you.
Great. Thank you, David. Thank you, Jamal, for sharing with us how this Diplomacy Initiative and some of the lessons learned from that can transfer over to our diversity work and contribute to it. And I'd like now to welcome Jessica Bouillon. Jessica is our District 5030 Peace Builder Committee Chair. She's been active in Seattle Rotary, but she's also been involved with Leadership Tomorrow. In this organization, we have many LT alums who are Rotarians, but this organization is tackling DEI, and there's some lessons learned from their work, and I'd like Jessica to share them with us. Jessica, please.
Thank you, Kathy. Thanks, everybody. Yes, I'm honored to say that I am a Leadership Tomorrow Cohort 2021 member, and a little bit heartbroken that our time in the cohort ends in June. But this is an opportunity for LT alum and participants and non-LT folks alike to really think about the concepts that come from this program. Leadership Tomorrow Seattle.org I encourage everyone to check out after this and really glean from them sort of the templates to use in our DEI work. Leadership Tomorrow in this region in Seattle encompasses the Puget Sound region. It's nearly 40 years old, and it is a wonderful organization that cultivates regional civic leaders. And it really supports individual growth as a leader, but doing a lot of what, this is why it's so wonderful to be a part of Rotary. It's because it's also nurturing the community of leaders. About 80 leaders or so are accepted each year. What I also love about this, and this is very Rotary as well, is that folks come from the private, nonprofit, and public sectors, and we really integrate throughout the entire 10-month program to one another to learn about how to make real social change and difference. The opportunities at Leadership Tomorrow are vast. The core program, the flagship program, is what I'm involved in. That's the 10-month program. What's really amazing is that, again, like Rotary, we explore vital regional issues. And as a group, as teams, both large in our 80-member cohort, but also in small lab teams, we develop strategies and tools that that can help us become more effective leaders and also to affect real change out into our community. The one part that is really, really integral and the absolute top reason why I applied and really wanted to be a part of this program is because we learn every single moment, literally, of the program, both on and offline, is about racial equity and to build skills that we can each individually and collectively in community dismantle systemic racism. And there's many ways that we do that. I just wanted to, in the quick few minutes that I had, talk about the concept of racial caucusing, which I had heard very little about, and I heard it in passing, and have now become very, very engrossed in through Leadership Tomorrow, and something that I think that Rotary clubs or even at the district level can really think about taking part in and developing. So anti-racist caucusing and sort of race-based caucusing is a powerful anti-racist tool in which people of color, white people, often there's even Black caucusing, and so there's various groups. Basically, the idea is breaking up groups that are separate according to quote unquote race, and these are safe spaces. And that's really key here, safe spaces to convene. I, as a white person, want to share a little bit about the white caucusing groups because that's the group that I'm a part of. And offline, either in our breakout sessions or in general, I'm more than happy to connect with folks about caucusing in general. In the white caucusing groups, we really work to increase our understanding of racism and the internalized white privilege and dominance that we as white people have. What's key, again, is that in caucusing, and even in the white caucusing groups, the dismantling of defensiveness and of making mistakes is part of that process, so that we can make mistakes together in our group and take the pressures off of the other groups, whether it is the Black caucus, people of color caucus, so that they can, in their groups, work without the white folks, so that they, in their own safe spaces, can commune and be together. And then a real key part of caucusing work is that every group is working toward healing and liberation. But there's a system of accountability that the white caucusing group has to the other groups, which is that, again, very safe spaces. We make lots of mistakes. We lean on one another in the white caucusing group, and then we bring our learnings and we bring even our experiences and potential missteps to the other caucuses. So we report out after we all are in our groups. And that's really important so that we can remain transparent and that we can not only build allyship, but real camaraderie so that we can work together as we all come back into inclusive and equitable groups. It is something that I have very seriously thought about bringing to Rotary District as the Peace Chair. I think it is something that can be extremely worthy and worthwhile and healing for folks. And so I'm more than happy to talk about that with anyone at any moment. Thank you, Kathy.
Jessica, count me as person number one to explore that with, because I'd like to bring it to our district.
You can
Thank
count on
you
it.
for sharing that. And thank you everyone for sharing some concrete examples.